Okay guys, in this video I'm going to pose a question and give my opinion on it. The basic question is, and this kind of comes up from time to time, can you legitimately assess a knife, folder or fixed blade? Although I'd say this kind of lends more towards folders, but can you legitimately assess the quality, the usability, the aspects of a knife without extensively using it, without carrying it for an extended period of time, without using it to cut a bunch of different materials, things like that? I hear this argument come up every once in a while. Some people get angry at guys like me and a bunch of other people that review knives and basically say, why do you think you can get away with calling this a knife review when you haven't even used the knife? You just got it and you're talking about it. And so basically this video is throwing out there that question in case you guys want to throw in your 2 cents in the comments below. But also I want to give my opinion on it. First off, I do think it's very valuable. Do I think using the knife extensively, like I mentioned, is more valuable? Absolutely. If I, as well as a bunch of other knife reviewers, if we could do that with every knife, we totally would. But unfortunately, there's a lot of constraints such as time, most importantly, and also just the volume of knives that we go through, and specifically me, for sure, that I go through. It requires a lot of resale of items to kind of keep getting new stuff. It's an addiction. I've got a sickness. And so if I used all my knives extensively, I wouldn't be able to recoup very much money when I had to let them go. And second of all, aside from that aspect, dealing with the logistics of the whole thing, there's the fact that I think you can legitimately give a lot of pointers, tips, and information on a knife without specifically using the crap out of it. And I'll go through some of those reasons right now why I think that that's definitely possible. There's a lot of aspects with a knife that deal with things like fit and finish, feel, materials, steel, all the brass tacks of that knife that can be discussed, tested, thought about. Things like folding knives have action, detents, lockup. All this can be tested by somebody without using the crap out of the knife, just by assessing it based on their knowledge, because they have used the crap out of knives, and so they know what certain ergonomics are going to be like with hard use, how blade finishes probably will hold up. All these things can be assessed by a knowledgeable person who's been around knives for a long time. And really, as far as cutting goes, it's not that complicated. It really isn't. It kind of cracks me up in Blade magazine right here. At the very end, they always have some spotlight knife, and a reviewer goes through and runs it through its paces. He cuts pretty much the same stuff. He cuts some foam, and he cuts some rope, and they always end up to be a positive. I've never read one where he said, yeah, it sucked at cutting rope. It's always good. But it just makes me laugh, because what are they really expecting to be different? I mean, a quality knife out of the box is gonna cut well. I mean, it just is. And as far as assessing the knife's ability to cut, how long it's gonna last, knowledge of steels and grinds, as well as a company's reputation for heat treatment, can speculate pretty close to how well it's going to perform. Now granted, I'm not saying it's a substitute for actually using it. I'm just saying there is value. It's not, either it's just a bunch of BS or somebody has to use it. You can look at a blade and say, okay, it's this thick, it's made out of X steel, and it has a high hollow grind. More or less how that sort of blade is going to perform, because you've used blades like it in the past. It's not that crazy. It's not like you're going to take that to some rope and be like, oh my gosh, I had no idea a hollow grind of this thickness would cut like this. It's amazing. No, it's going to fall in line with what you'd expect. It's going to cut like similar blades of that steel with that grind. It just is. Those things are pretty stagnant. There's some minute details in terms of some of the other features of the blade that would play a factor. And those sort of in-depth reviews are really great when they can kind of uncover those things. But as far as the basics of how something's going to perform, you can get a pretty good idea based off of the data and experience of using knives similarly in the past. So I definitely think that you can give a lot of assessment and a lot of information from a knife without using the crap out of it first. As I said before, that would be great if everybody, every time they got a knife, could use the crap out of it for 2 months and then do a review. But frankly, there wouldn't be a lot of reviews out there because there's just not that many of us that are into knives this much, and so there'd be a lot of knives that just wouldn't ever be touched on if everybody was carrying these things around for months and months before they gave any sort of opinion on it. So I definitely think there's value to knife reviews of all types. And that's it. I'll get off my soapbox. I just wanted to express my opinion on this topic because I don't know, it just kind of bugs me when people basically get all angry and say, how can you call this a review? You didn't even use it, and things like that. I see where they're coming from. I tend to avoid the term review, and in fact, I really don't do reviews anymore. I used to do really in-depth knife reviews where I talked a lot at length about all the aspects of the blade and things like that, and I just found everything becoming really, really redundant. So now I just talk about the things that stand out to me, my impressions of it, something this knife offers that maybe others don't, and things like that, rather than rehash the same type stuff over and over again. So that's it, guys. If you made it to the end of this video, I applaud you. Thanks.